How you doing? My name is Race Nelson, and I'll be showing you the respiratory system lecture. It's a great lecture. Hope you enjoy it. Learning objectives. First are you want to describe how the lungs are organized into lobes and segments, and the airways that supply them with ventilation. Next, describe how and why airways produce and move mucus. 3. Describe how the structures in the respiratory bronchioles and alveoli are organized. And then describe the blood-gas barrier. Okay, so a quick little, this slide here just shows how the upper airways, how the air flows through the upper airways. So in the upper respiratory system, it consists of, this is just the structures. It consists of the nose, nasal cavity, sinuses, and the pharynx. And the lower respiratory system consists of the larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and the alveoli. They all work in unison together, so it's good to know how they work and why they're there. Okay, upper airways. Air enters the external narines, through the nose. Then it passes by the nasal vestibule. Then enters the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is just like the upper up here. There's a picture next. You'll see what it looks like. But once the air enters the nasal cavity, the air swirls in there, and there's and if there's any debris or any type of whatever particle, the swirling motion lets it promotes the stuff to attach to the walls of the upper airway, so it kind of protects it in that way. So it sticks to the mucus in there, and also it warms the air. So you breathe in, stuff gets breathed in air, then it warms and humidifies. So it's a good little defense ways. Then we all and also there's hair in our nose as well. Hairs in our nose. It works. It blocks anything that's too big. If anything's too big, it shouldn't be in your respiratory system, and there's barriers that prevent that. So, next is the pharynx. It's a passageway that connects the nose to the mouth and to the throat. It consists of 3 things that make up the pharynx. It's the nasal pharynx, the orthopharynx, and the laryngeal. The nasal pharynx is the back of the nose. So there's a great picture after the slide that shows that. And also the oropharynx, it's the back of the mouth. So if you open your mouth and if you open your mouth, you get the C, right back there. That's the oropharynx region. Okay. The last region is the laryngopharynx. And that's the area that has the entrance of the trachea and the esophagus. So it's a little bit below so here's the mouth here, or the oropharynx, below that, a little below the tongue, at the back of the tongue, that's the laryngopharynx. And here's a picture showing that. We got our 3 regions as discussed. These here, that makes up the pharynx region. All right, up here we have the nasal cavity. Right there, air enters the external narines in here. It swirls, it gets humidified, debris gets attached to the mucus in here. Yeah. Also, there's sinuses up there. Mucus builds up there. Mucus builds up there, and I'm not gonna get much into that. But those are the 3 regions. And epiglottis, we'll get into that soon. Now we have the larynx, also known as the voice box. A cylinder, so it's a cylinder whose cartilage's walls, the cartilage on the larynx, it helps stabilize, and it's stabilized by ligaments and muscles or both. So they help together to stabilize the larynx. And there's three pairs of cartilages. There's the thyroid, cricoid, and epiglottis. And the epiglottis, I'll go back. It's here. That closes when you swallow. So it covers your airway. You don't want no food or water going in there when you swallow. So that blocks it. Really good mechanism. I would say that is a lifesaver. Choking's bad. This is a picture of the trachea. Here, there's the cartilages here, the thyroid and the Adam's apple. It's part of the thyroid cartilage. The cricoid cartilage. Here's this here. So these rings here, they kind of cuff around the trachea, stabilizes the trachea there. That's the windpipe. Brings air down lower to the bases, to the lungs. And here, cricoid thyroid ligament. This is the part. This is that's the ligament you cut when you do a tracheotomy. So you palpate the Adam's apple. And you feel a little kind of a cushy thing below your throat, below the Adam's apple. That's where you slice and dice, and you put the tube in and all that stuff. All right. So now the more on the trachea. It's a width about 2.5 centimeters in diameter. It contains tracheal cartilage, and the rings on it. It's about 16 to 20 cartilage rings, and the posterior side of the cartilage ring is a tracheal muscle. So behind the trachea is actual muscle there. And that muscle allows constriction and dilation of the trachea. Good to know. Also, the trachea branches, so the trachea, I think I have a picture next. The trachea travels here and then it branches out to the left and right primary bronchus. It's called the cardia. And it's about, I think, xiphoid process right here. I think that's where it branches off. Here's a picture. You have the 16 to 20 rings, which are great to have to stabilize your trachea. You have the primary left and right bronchus with, you see it breaks down to smaller pieces. And this is how the air travels from the upper airways to the bases where they're most important. And there's the thyroid cartilages there. It all works together, so that's a really good picture there. All right. And this is another picture that just shows the same thing. It's more information on it. It's a good picture to show how everything's working. Go ahead and look at that if you want on your own time. All right. Organization of lungs. Kind of went over the upper airways. So now, lungs, what we listen to, RTs, respiratory therapists, listen to. The apex are the superior portions of the lung, and the bases are the inferior bases of the lung. The right lung has 3 lobes, the superior, middle, and inferior, so this way. And it consists of horizontal fissures and obliques. Those fissures just divide the segments of the lung, so it's easy to identify. They're just borders, okay? And there's 3 of them on the right side of the lung. And the left side of the lung has 2 lobes, inferior, superior, and it contains an oblique fissure to divide the superior and inferior borders. They have a oblique fissure. And the left lung has a cardiac notch, because here you have your sternum, the left of it you have your heart. And that heart needs room to pump, so it naturally kind of pushes, or the lung is already shaped for the heart. It's just the way the body works. But it has a cardiac notch, so it's good to know that. All right. Okay. There's a picture of the lungs here. The 3 lobes: right lung, superior, middle, and inferior. Horizontal fissures here, an oblique fissure. They're in common because they have the inferior. They have the oblique fissures in common, right? Oblique is the first border, and then you have the superior, inferior. Then you have the trachea going down, and you see little primary bronchi, left and right. Bronchi. At the cardia location, so they bifurcate there. All right. Okay, before we get to the bottoms of the lung, it's good to know that all the structures, I'll read that, all structures distal to the terminal bronchioles form primary, they're called locus and achinus. So, you'll see, let me see here. This part up here, wish I had a laser pointer, but up here, that is the tertiary bronchiole, breaks down to the smaller respiratory bronchioles there. And this respiratory bronchiole, it's smaller in its diameter, but what's, so here's the bronchiole here. On the bronchiole, there's a bunch of grape sacs here. And these grape sacs are actually full of alveoli. So the sacs of grapes on the bronchioles are actually things of alveoli. There's about 10,000 alveoli per lobe. And they're called achinus. I like using that word, but I think I use lobule in my presentation. But it's good to know. It's good to know. Okay, organization. So again, the trachea brings the air. You know, remember the cornea bifurcations here in the lungs. Trachea brings the air here. Then within the trachea and bronchiole, they're made up of 3 layers. So in the trachea and bronchioles, within them, there's actually 3 layers that make up that tissue in there, and that's the mucosa. And the mucosa, that forms the. So if you would put your hand down the trachea and feel the inside of it, that thing you're feeling is actually called the mucosa. It's the first. It's formed. The mucosa forms the mucous membrane, and it composes of epithelia. Also pseudo-stratified ciliated ciliated cells, columnar cells, and those are not present in the smaller bronchioles or alveoli. So in the airway, you have pseudostratified. Pseudostratified are multiple layers of tissue. Okay, that's in the trachea and the bronchioles. But in the smaller bronchioles and alveoli, it's a simple layer epithelium. Simple layer, just one layer in the alveoli. I'll get to there. I'll get there soon. Submucosa. It's just composed of connective tissue, bronchial glands, and smooth muscles. And the adventitia is just third layer, just connective tissue. Okay, the function. So the function of, let's go to the picture here. Here's the picture. So I talked about the cilia, which is right here. You see little hair-like figures. What those do are they propel mucus upward, up the trachea, and to promote coughing. So you cough out that stuff. But the mucus is produced by these cells, the serous cell and the goblet cell. These here, boom, boom, and those make the mucus blanket. And yeah, and this is the mucosa layer here. Mucosa. This is the ciliated, pseudostratified columnar epithelia here. Okay, it's a good, nice, thick layer. Not that thick, but I mean it's a thicker layer than the simple columnar and the alveoli. And this is the submucosa. This is where the constriction happens. So bronchial constrictions are made by these muscles here, and the cartilages are here. The adventitia cartilages are located there. All right, good slide, very good slide. Let's go back now. Okay, so more on the function. So how they work? How do they work together? The cilia, the ciliated columnar cells move mucus in an upward manner. Like I said, and it's called the mucus escalator. There's another word for it, but mucus escalator's totally fine. So debris is coughed out. So if anything's not met in the lung, if it catches stuff, debris, and it gets coughed out, that could help our bodies to evade pathogens that we might breathe in. It might hopefully get attached to the mucus and gets coughed out. We don't want that in our lower bases. And the mucus cells, the serous and the goblet cells, they produce mucus. And that's pretty much all I want to talk about on this slide, okay? Well, the stratified columnar epithelium cell provides protection against abrasions. Why? There are multiple layers. Stratified is multiple layered, okay? Bronchioles. Well, bronchioles. They stem from the tertiary branches. Tertiary branch is just a bigger branch, and then the bronchiole comes from that. It stems from it, and then it keeps getting smaller and smaller until you get to the alveoli. But the bronchiole in diameter is about 0.3 to 0.5 millimeters, and they're self-supported as well. So there's no cartilage down there, so they're self-sustained. And they consist of smooth muscle, so so a bronchodilator would take effect here, which is the sympathetic stimulation, right? Bronchodilation, parasympathetic. And the bronchoconstriction is the parasympathetic. So that's where it comes into play in that region. Smooth muscle. And the bronchioles terminate or stem from into clusters of sacs of alveoli, the grapes, right? Here's the bronchioles here, and here's the grapes here that stem from this, that stem from the bronchiole. Okay, those grapes of sacs of alveoli. Okay, picture, awesome picture. You have, I'm going to turn here. You have the left primary bronchus, okay, stems down, gets smaller and smaller, you see. Secondary bronchus, tertiary bronchi, then it gets to the smaller bronchi, and then finally to the respiratory bronchioles. It just breaks down to smaller pieces. And that's how it's structured. So if you want, you can memorize the names here, these regions, and what's important though are this part here. So it terminates, so the tertiary branch terminates, this stems from there, and the alveoli stems from there, the bronchioles, so alveoli, smaller structure. Okay. Hope that's clear. Yeah, so it just breaks down to smaller structures. Okay. All right, let's talk about some alveoli now. Okay, very important. The grape-like structures that sprout from stem from bronchioles. So again, bronchioles, alveoli, the sacs. Those sprouts, those sacs were made out of alveolar ducts. You'll see pictures of that next, and alveolar sacs. So like a sack of potatoes. There's a whole sack of potatoes, but a sack of alveoli, grapes. And then the purpose of the alveoli is the gas exchange. Very important. Gas exchange helps keep control of our pH and all kinds of good stuff. Oxygenation and as well. All right. The cells associated with the alveoli. Well, the lining consists of a single layer squamous cell. Squamous, simple. Why single layer in the alveoli? Because you want oxygen to go through easy and carbon dioxide. You don't want no stratified, nothing. And there's type 1 cells. So they're type 1 cells. Okay, so type 2 cells secrete surfactant. Those prevent the alveoli from collapsing. Okay? And then in the alveoli you have macrophages that wander around and they digest any particles that should not be in there, any foreign invaders, okay? So, and the type 1 cells are more abundant than the type 2, but type 2 are really important, okay? And the type 1 kind of line the alveoli, so. All right, great picture. Okay, so remember the bronchioles, like I said, this is the bronchiole here. From there, has sacs of alveoli. Okay, well those sacs are alveolar ducts, okay? That's like pretty much a duct. Those have a bunch of alveoli all around there. Then the air travels there, then it travels through the atria. But what's important to know is it gets down to the alveolar sacs here. And these sacs are where the alveoli live. So simple columnar, simple epithelium. That's where they're at. So the air travels through the respiratory bronchioles all the way down, duct here, and down there. That's where the gas exchange happens. So, and here you see the type 1 cells, the more abundant, a whole lot more. Type 2, there are just a few. I would say type 2's here. There's only a few of those, not many, but type 1 are the purple ones here. Type 2 is the green ones. You see there are not as many. And yeah, that's a good slide. So yeah, go ahead and look that over. There's that. The purple are the macrophages. They eat the foreign particles. Continues. Each lung has about 150 million alveoli. Okay, and each alveoli, so extensive network of alveoli. So in the alveoli, or in the tree of alveoli, there's an extensive network of capillaries. Why? Because, I'll get to why later, but there's a bunch of, there's an extensive network of capillaries in the alveoli sac area. Capillaries, in that part, capillaries come to us. They come to the lung, and they bring us CO2, okay? They bring us CO2, and then and when that happens, that CO2 enters the sac, and then leaves. We breathe that out, but at that same time, we have oxygen going in, so it's a little exchange. And the alveoli, so there's elastic tissue too. So when you breathe in, your lung expands. When you breathe out, that's the elastic part. The elastic part structures in the alveoli helps you exhale. It brings your stuff back. When you lose that aspect, it's hard to breathe. So you have, patients with emphysema, they have problems breathing. And that also maintains the shape of the alveoli for a longer period of time. So without the elastic tissue, the lung would not be able to breathe out much air proficiently. Okay, gas exchange. Okay, so we have the, again, we have all of the capillaries and alveoli here. We have the veins and the capillaries. The veins bring the blood to the sac, and the capillaries bring it to the heart. No, actually, no. That's not right. I'm going to go ahead and read my PowerPoint. Pulmonary arteries transport, the pulmonary arteries, the red ones, they transport carbon dioxide, which is kind of weird, right? A red vein, a red artery brings us CO2. That's kind of weird, okay? So pulmonary artery transports CO2 to the alveoli capillaries. So they bring us CO2, and the pulmonary, the pulmonary artery brings us CO2, and then it gives the carbon dioxide leaves that capillary into the alveolar sac. Then oxygen leaves the alveolar sac and enters the capillaries. Just an exchange. Oxygen then enters, so the oxygen then enters the pulmonary vein and brings it back to the heart, and it's rich. It's a oxygen full of blood. Okay, hope I can explain this correct. If not, that would be not good, because this is my presentation. I can't mess up. Agree? Agree. All right. We have here our lobules, or acinus, here, right? About 10,000 alveoli. And right here. So, believe we have blood flow coming in here, which are carbon dioxide. Let me see. CO2, that's going back to the body. Let me get here. For sure, what we know for sure is that CO2 gets released through our lungs. We breathe in for a purpose, for the O2 to enter our bloodstream, okay? And that blood is carried through with our pulmonary vein. So that's here. So you see the blue is the carbon dioxide in the blood. Then from there, CO2 jumps in here, takes off, and then the rich oxygenated blood at the same time jumps on these capillaries, and they enter back up into through the pulmonary vein. Then it gets delivered to our left atrium and gets distributed all over our bodies. References, go ahead and check those out. I like the last one. If you want to check that out, the last one's really good. Questions. Which malfunction of respiratory systems is the destruction of alveolar walls? Which one destroys the alveolar walls? create malfunction. I give you the answer already. So yeah, emphysema, and pneumonia is the building up of fluid in the lung, which is correct about what lungs excrete. Well, that's CO2. Your body excretes CO2. The pressure of gas is inversely proportional to its volume is a statement of the law of Laplace. That one was a weird, very different, interesting question. It might be, I just go and write that down. It's a very interesting law. And the term respiratory refers to C, oxygen utilization within the cells. Okay, so I hope you learned something today. You know, if you want to go back and watch the video, go ahead. Anyways, my name is Brace Nelson, and this is my respiratory system lecture. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.